It's Coffee Talk with Adika. Nothing rhymes with that but chicken tikka. We name drop here with Stefan, Mike, and whoever.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coffee Talk with your host and the star of this show, pencils and all, Mr. Stefan Adika. Where are you, Stefan? Where are you? There you are.
I'm hiding out.
Right there.
I'm hiding
Look, I
out.
got it right the first time.
Mike.
Talking China?
Mike, I didn't know if the show could happen today. I'm hiding out. I'm hiding.
What are you hiding for?
Hold on. I hear stuff.
What's wrong?
Do you hear anything, Mike?
No, I hear you. You sound fine. You look good.
No, Mike. As you can tell, I didn't get enough sleep. Do you know what
You were
happened?
jogging last night at about 11 o'clock. It sounded great. You had your earpiece in. Sounded great. We should do the show while you dog. Oh, is that what you had when you were jogging?
This plugs into my microphone, but it's good because I don't know if I could keep the show in this studio anymore. People have gone mad. They're mad. I said things yesterday. I went online. The fans. I upset the fans. That's what Adika does. You don't know about it? You don't. It's news. Fox, CNN, whatever site you're on.
Breaking news.
It's breaking news. Fasano.
Trending.
Look what happened.
They're burning the Adika's Pepper record.
Dude, you know what happened? Yenta Alley. They took over. The Yentas. They got everybody crazy. The Yentas. Look at those two.
I love them.
Don't upset the Yentas. When you upset the Yentas, you know what happens? The streets, they go nuts. They're burning Adika. They're burning him. Look at the faces in the background. How angry they look. Angry mob. Look at this.
I love it.
Roxy loves you, does Adika? We love Eddie Trunk.
Wow.
I'm offended. Kiss my boop. Oh my goodness. This calls for a press conference. Look, I'm sorry what I said. I didn't mean it. Forgive me.
Where are they getting these photos from? Who is doing this? This is great.
Fasano, I didn't say I was better or greater than Ryan Roxy. I was just stating a fact. He's boring. You want to be bored? I promote Roxy. I support Roxy. Hey, when it gets too hot in Adika's kitchen, go on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Support Roxy. Mellow out. You want something scripted and runs on time? Roxy's the guy. There's nothing bad. I said it in the press conference yesterday. I do a thing, recap the show, Coffee Talk recap.
Is that something new?
This is new. Look how serious. You understand. Look at you. You were there at the press conference, Mike. Look at Oive.
God, look at
Corey Leventon. You know he's saying that picture? He's like, do I have to go back to my regular job? I thought, Stefan, we were going to go somewhere. I thought you were going to get the subscribers, but you're chasing them away. How did Adika chase away the subscribers? I said one thing. I'm not saying we're better or greater than Roxy. I'm just saying support him. Mellow with him. And on Sundays, it's great. Roxy's show is excellent for Sundays. It's great for the retirement home. For us guys that are about to get into deep ends and we want to be mellow and be bored.
Yeah.
Watch Roxy playing guitar. It's a gem. It's beautiful. I want to see a 55-year-old guy with black nail polish. It turns me on. It turns me on. Hold on.
Has he called you yet? Have you gotten any messages?
He won't speak to me, but I still support Roxy. Nada. One of the first people that loved Adika wrote to me this morning. I don't get where you're coming from, Stefan. I still support you and love you. Nada, please. For the love of God, don't go nowhere. Adika needs you. I didn't mean it. Help me, you guys. Let me bring the rest of the guys up here. Look at it. We got Oive. We got Corey. We got you guys who were at the press conference. What did I do?
You handled it very well. You avoided the wrong questions and answered the right ones, and everybody was on point.
Look at poor Corey. He's like, do I have to go back to cleaning toilets?
Corey looks like linen right there.
That is so hysterical.
That is good.
That's a great photo.
Look at this, Corey. The press conference was heavy. Look at me. I never said we were better or greater than Ryan Roxy, but please.
Which is this the angle right here that I'm in right here?
I think so. Look at poor Kitty. Look at Kitty and the Yenta. Look at the Yentas.
Oh,
They're going crazy.
Wow.
Yenta Alley. Look at
They
those
burned
two.
your record?
Kath Grant. She wrote me a novel. Oh my goodness, my wife. Once you get an upset wife, you know the motto, guys, right? Happy wife,
Happy life.
Not for Adika. You know why? You know what? I got my wife. Yentas. They got her crazy.
Look
She
at the
goes,
cats
"Let's
even
go."
look crazy.
They made my wife sound like my mother. My wife's even yelling at me. You know my wife? In the sound of Ellen Lamb, my mom's, she left my dad because he's crazy because of me. I can't keep my family together because of me. My wife, who turned into a Yenta too because of Yenta Alley. They turned my wife into, my wife yelled, sounds like Edith Bunker now, Amber. What are you crazy? What are you doing? You're upsetting the Yentas! Look at you. What? Are you okay?
I love it.
What are you nuts? What the hell's with you? Are you okay? What's going on there?
Did you spit it out?
You always, now my coffee.
What the hell's the matter with you? Look, God, I'm sorry, guys. And then
He
Mike,
always picks the wrong time to do that, right when I'm taking a drink.
and then Fasano tells this great story yesterday.
That
Phil
was
Spector.
awesome, Mike.
I was in a band with him. Look at this. I didn't even know the story till yesterday, and Mike told me on the air, shut the F up! What's a man? Because Mike saw they were burning Adika. They're burning the channel, and Mike's a supporter. Look at that picture. Mike, that's what yesterday, when you and I were in Dad's Porno Mag, I go, Mike, we were in the same band because of that hat. I know that.
Yeah,
hat.
we have a picture. That's that same era.
Mike, I'm going to do something. I want to ask you a question. I want to raise the pen so I don't interrupt because people are mad. Adika interrupts. Can I speak when the pen goes up? Can I ask a question?
I think it goes for all of us.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to make sure.
have a pen.
Adika's the villain here. My wife made a post. There's 3 angels and 1 is not. You guys are the angels. Me, I'm a villain. Mike, let me ask you a question. Do you notice in this picture really quick? Look at this. It's almost connected to an OJ world because you got the guy who lived on OJ's ground who OJ supposedly.
Kato Kalin.
Yeah, and then you got Phil Spector who did something.
Yeah.
And I listened to the recap of the story. And I want to ask you a question because you said when you were saving Spector, he goes, I was going to shoot you. Did you see craziness in Phil's eyes when he said that to you?
I think I more or less saw the gun that he pulled out when he turned, when he pulled it out from here and turned to me. I saw the gun more than anything, and I got scared. It didn't point it at me, but it was like I was gonna.
How was it?
That
Show me.
was what I saw more than.
Can you remember reenacted how he did it? I like when you do the face. It's better than Yenta looking out the window. Like, show me the face.
What are you talking about? Well, I can't rerun the clip.
Because
We need production. We need Vic.
Okay.
We need production.
I got to tell you
Run
something.
the clip. Let's do it on the recap today.
I got to find the clip, but can I tell you guys something? So Roxy, because of the Yentas, do you see what happened to Roxy, everybody? He's gone mad before and after. Roxy, before I made my comment on Ryan Roxy, and now that he knows I'm calling his show bored, look what happened to Roxy before, how good looking he was. Look at Roxy now.
Oh my God. Who is
What?
doing this? This is amazing.
Roxy.
Oh no.
Corey, we need to send.
Oh my God.
Roxy.
Oh my God.
Roxy's not speaking to Coffee Talk. There's only one man that can save the day. Corey Leviton. Can we send you on a mission to speak to Roxy? This is what Roxy today. How he's living.
He doesn't like me either.
He doesn't, but it was,
He tolerates me.
can you please?
Oh my God.
Can you please go talk to Roxy and tell him I'm sorry? He's not in the right state of mind. I want to see the old Roxy. Please, can you please, Corey?
Oh my God.
Let's go to the comments. See, we got 120 comments. Oy vey, can you read them? Oh my goodness, I gotta stop. Oh, we got a good show today. Oh, the first one right here, Days with Jordan the Lion. The
Welcome
guy
to the wonderful world of YouTube Adika.
Jordan, As Mike Fasano says,
Exactly.
I steal your fans because I got none. I need to take some of
Exactly.
yours. Welcome
give
to
them
the
back.
one for. I love you, Jordan. Thank you for the Dennis Wilson vlog that you did. You started our week off great, and because of you, I had no ideas. So Jordan, thank you for making a show happen that I didn't know what the hell I was going to do.
So
Jordan,
that show's back up on air. Does that mean that they reviewed it and there was nothing wrong with it?
you know, I think it's a troll. That's the other thing. It was weird because after we did that show, and I should thank Jordan. Oh wait, hold on. Go ahead. Oy vey.
Corey didn't raise his pen when he spoke.
Oh, that's right. That's okay. Raise your pen, raise a vibrator, whatever. What the ever the kids are doing? Raise something.
Oh, a box cutter.
A box cutter. See, there you go, threatening Adika again.
I'm part Mexican.
We got Melrose Larry Green looking forward to Bill German. We send you a link for some music because Bill would like to meet you, but where are you? You know, Wendy's here. Morning AC. Let's go to let's say Liz. What's Liz saying, Oy vey?
Liz says, how's everyone? We're
Okay,
awesome, Liz. How are you?
How about Wendy?
Morning, Liz.
What's over here? Simon Snow's
Simon.
in town.
Hey, I'm going to pop off and subscribe to your channel, Jeff.
You know what? I'm so glad you just said that for the kid. Jeff
Yeah.
Kidd, you know what? What's Jeff Kidd got going on? Tell the guys out there what the kid's doing.
He's cooking.
He's
cooking with the kid.
That's
And look
right.
at all that. That's just the first round. Look at that.
He's cooking with the kid.
You can
Go to
almost
Jeff Kidd.
smell that smoke.
You like it, huh?
Mhm.
Let me get out
Yeah.
here. Look, we gotta get better production, like like other people. All right, let's go right to these comments. Melrose. Let's see. What's over here? Jeff Kidd. There he goes.
Thanks, Simon. More videos coming this week when the weather lets up. Storming all week so far.
That's right.
Here's. Oh, you do that one, Mike.
Here's Adika.
There
Smile.
it is. There it is. Smile. Let's
Smile.
go some of these comments.
You like that?
I do
read it.
like
It's good.
Phonetically.
The
Sure
oh,
did.
Mike, let Mike say this one. He loves the name. Let Mike do this one.
Oh, Joe Basher. Great stage name. I call all these Instagram names or YouTube names the stage names. You know what I mean? Monikers, stage names. Great. Joe Basher. If I was a drummer, I'd want to be Joe Basher.
Somebody's gonna.
Even though I don't bash, I hit like a pussycat.
Somebody's gonna go.
You like that?
I do like that. You know what? Somebody's gonna go Daddy and take that name, Joe Basher. Corey, read this one.
Orienta antics to come.
You didn't read her name. She was gonna get really pissed at you.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Alex Katrina.
There's the fabulous, beautiful. That's the Suzanne Summers of Coffee Talk right here. Debbie, we're gonna do something special. I'm gonna do a surprise for Debbie.
Debbie Moeller?
You know why? Because she's the Suzanne Summers of Coffee Talk. That's it. Everybody
Okay, there
needs
you go. She's got a new nickname.
No, that's every 70s show always had some, the Munsters
Yeah.
had Marilyn, Three's Company had Suzanne, Coffee Talk has Debbie. That's it, right? You need that,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Need it.
you need it. Okay, Mike, read this one. You're good friends with Jordan.
Hey, Adika, we should form a band and call it the Coattails. I
I
like
think-
it. Hey, Jordan, that is, what's his name? The drummer from Dave Grohl's band, the Foo Fighters.
Taylor.
Taylor Hawkins
Taylor
has a band
Hawkins.
called the Coattail Riders.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think we could do that because it'd probably be too close to them, and then they'll sue us, right?
I don't know. We have to Brent
Or
Woods is in the band.
are they just so massive they'll never know?
They are. Yeah, that's right. Hey, read all of this, Oy vey.
Jordan, said Debbie
We-
Mueller. Suzanne Summers. Jeff Kidd says, hey, Jordan. Debbie Mueller says, calf.
What's Funky saying?
The recap was so fun. It was fun.
Should we go try to get the recap? I don't know how I did it.
Yeah, we'll just tell them you're going to pop on this afternoon. We'll do another recap today.
We'll do this afternoon. We'll do recap because we got such a great show. Jeff Kidd, good morning to the guys in town. Let's go over here. I don't know what happened to Melrose. Send them a link, Oy vey, because I don't want.
Well,
I don't want
Melrose
him.
was on last night. He was.
But I don't. That's one. That's one of them. It's Cat Grand. It's Spooky Fang.
Hide.
Oh my goodness! Hide, everybody. Cat Grant is here! No! Not Cat Grant! There goes the ratings! We got 54! Save your soul!
It's going up.
This
Save
one,
your soul, Corey! Get the helmet! Cat Grant is here! Get the helmet! Quick! Fasano, raise your pen! Stand up and shout! Oh my goodness!
The
The wrath of Kath!
That's funny. Corey, you need to put your headset inside there.
We love you, Kath.
Oh my God. Kath Grant, she'll torment you with the longest emails to Facebook messaging. She'll write so much that you might get a virus. Ah! This is how it is with Kath Grant. Look. Oh, let me look at my messaging. Ah! Kath Grant wrote to me again.
Right now, there's a little kid in Tibet making a voodoo doll for her of Stefan.
Oh my God. Things got so out of control. That beautiful, lovely fan Ken, he even got crazy with me. They turned Ken, Indian Ken on me.
Well, because
Lovable
you learned the
Indian
colors.
Ken. Ah! They're coming. They're coming again. Adika, please, for the love of God, what do we do? I know what to do. I know how we could save everybody. Everybody.
How?
You know what?
But the Kiss Army.
An exclusive interview with Ryan Roxy. See how he's doing. All right, everybody, we got a great show.
Oh, you're
I
in
thought we
trouble.
were going to be able to get what's his name, Melrose, but Melrose is probably having some technical issues. If he comes up,
We'll
here,
get him back.
We'll get him back up over here. Ashley Grant, Wrath of Kath. I've been seen many a time. Look at this, Lynn Barker. You know. And everybody, we got to give a round of applause. Who's doing the art? You know who's doing the art. Ashley Alexander, the man, he does it.
Incredible.
You never know, Indian Ken
I did
is
the Yenta
watching.
one.
Look!
Yeah.
He's after me. Indian Ken is going to get me. Wendy says, save us all. I say we have a good show, you guys. You know what? Usually I wait later to bring the guest on. Why don't we bring him on now?
Yeah.
The guy wrote, he wrote this book. It's out of print right here. Okay? Under the thumb, actually, Corey sent it to me. I will not give it back to you, Corey, because it's out of print. It's a collector's item. Under the thumb, Bill German, but he has, you know what? He has a website. He has a good website. Let's do this. I say we do this, you guys. Corey, you introduced me to him. I'm having technical issues here, so if I happen to turn out because the wrath of Kath is taking over the internet.
Oh, yeah.
You guys okay? I'll come back in. I'll sign out. You guys, we will cover each other, right? Corey Leventon, let's bring him to the table right now. The round table. We'll raise our pen. We'll be polite. Introduce our next gentleman, the guest coming up here, Corey.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stones' friend, Bill German.
Bill German. There he is. Bill German.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill, before
Bill?
we get started, our Paul Schaefer just arrived to the studio.
Hey,
We're stuck in traffic.
He was stuck in traffic. We have our Suzanne Summers, Debbie, you met, but have you met the Paul Schaefer of Coffee Talk with Adika Live? Mr. Melrose Larry Green, meet Bill German.
how are you, Steph?
How are you? Bill German, Larry, Corey, Larry.
Bill,
You know
I
what?
love you. Big fan of yours, Bill.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm a fan of yours from way back. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
well-
You never know who's out there. So that's really
You
nice.
actually heard of me, Bill? Really?
I have. Yes. Well, longtime listener of Howard. And for the record, I was a fan of Corey's too. And that's, should I embarrass Corey?
No, I think we should. There goes the interview. Bill, it's nice meeting you, Bill.
My
We can
ego-
get you out of here.
My ego needs it at this point in my life.
Hey, Larry,
You
what
got a
you
song
do?
for Bill?
Yeah, you have a song for Bill, Larry? Go ahead. Do a little song for Bill before we get going here. Come on. Take it away, Larry.
Okay, Bill, you started out in Brooklyn. Is it true you were born in Canarsie?
Well, near Canarsie. How well do you know, like, Southern Brooklyn?
Okay, and you started a fan magazine called
Hey,
Beggars Banquet.
Larry. You're supposed to play music. Paul Schaefer, not do the interview.
Oh, I'm
Play a
sorry.
song. Play a song. 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes. You got 30 seconds. Play something quick for Bill.
Goodbye, Joe. We gotta go. Yo, Maya. We got
Play something that's not copyright. YouTube will take it off. To make up the,
no, that's like a 200 year. That song's 200 years old.
Don't worry. Kath Wrath will come after us. We got to be careful.
Come, Bill Drummond. He knows the Rolling Stones. He knows Keith. He knows Mick. He knows Ronnie Wood. Born near Canarsie. Bill Drummond. He wrote a book now. He's a great guy. He's on Coffee Talk. Let's have fun now. That's 30 seconds. Bill Drummond, a great guy, not from Canarsie. I was born in Brownsville, New York, Brookdale Hospital. Bill Drummond. It's for everybody now. I better stop. Kim's going to get mad because it's early in the morning.
All right. Melrose Larry Green, thank you very much. Beautiful, Melrose. Beautiful for the song. Beautiful. The fact is Melrose Larry Green. Hey, Melrose, stay right there for a second. Stay right there. You could hang at the round table with us. Why not? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill German, author of Under Their Thumb right here. This is the book. It's on how a nice boy from Brooklyn got mixed up with the Rolling Stones and lived to tell about it. Bill, we want to know about it. Let's start it from the beginning. Tell us.
All right. Well, I started as just a regular fan like everybody else. I had not even heard of the Stones until I was like 10 years old. So I'm 57 now. So it was like the end of 1972 when I hear the Stones for the first time blaring out of my sister's bedroom. She's playing Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. I'm totally fascinated by these guys. I start learning everything about them. I borrow all of her albums. I learn every song. And at the same time, I had this love of journalism. I was like a news junkie. And so at age 16, the week of my 16th birthday, I decided to marry it together. My love of journalism, my love for the Stones. And I decided to start a fanzine. And in order to print it, I sneak into my high school's mimeograph room, South Shore High School in Canarsie. So I didn't live in Canarsie, but I was like in one of the next neighborhoods and went to school in Canarsie my whole life. Printed the issues, had no idea who would be interested in it because at that point, this is 1978, Canarsie and all of Brooklyn is in the throes of Saturday Night Fever. Totally. So I tried to sell it to my fellow, to my students, my classmates, and they're like, what the fuck is this, man? And they never heard of the Stones or didn't care about the Stones. And so my circulation was zero. And eventually it's the Stones that find out about it and take me under their wing. So that was the great irony, is that all my friends and classmates had no interest in my little magazine, and it's the Stones that did.
How did they find out?
So I was like a year into publishing this little fanzine, and I decided to show it to them. And this is at a point when the Stones were so much more accessible. Three of them were living in New York. Mick and Keith and Ronnie were all living here. And they were going out to nightclubs like 2-3 times a week. And I found out that they were having a party for their Emotional Rescue album. And I just showed up. I wasn't on a guest list or anything like that. I just showed up. Of course, today people would say it's stalking or whatever, but you have to remember this is June of 1980 and John Lennon is still alive.
Wow.
Stalking is like, no one's thinking of stalking. There wasn't even like Entertainment Tonight wasn't even on. People magazine was only a couple years old. So for, at this point I'm 17. So like a 17-year-old fan just to wait outside of a nightclub. It was Danceteria on 37th Street. Just to wait outside a nightclub for your favorite rock stars to walk out and hand them something, it was pretty innocent. And that's the thing. I gave them something. I didn't want anything from them. I didn't ask them for an autograph. I didn't even want a handshake. I was just, hey, here's this little fanzine I publish about you guys, and they amazingly took an interest in it.
Yeah. Wow. So now, when were you living in Canarsie at that time? In Canarsie, taking
at that point, yeah. Well, so if you know Southern Brooklyn, I'm really born and raised in Mill Basin, which is like
Kings Plaza Mall by the Kings Plaza.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As my dad liked to say, we live on a poor block of the rich neighborhood, because
that's true.
Parts of Mill Basin was pretty wealthy. I mean, I knew kids who had boats in the backyard. I didn't. I lived in a row house. We didn't even have a garden in front of our house. So I was in it was all attached on both sides, and there was
Yeah.
a family, and
Now,
but I had pretty wealthy neighbors. Anyway, so it was Mill Basin, and yes, that's where I was living at this point when I meet the Stones.
So to recap, a lot of people don't realize this. Corey turns me onto a book. He sent me this book, which is out of print now. This book, okay. Bill turns out he's from Canarsie, the area. Mill Basin is right next to Canarsie, where I'm from. When I did, then it turned out this author that you're turning me on to, Corey, we knew the same crowd, the people. So Bill's journey to get to Manhattan, it's not an easy trip because Mill Basin, you got to take a bus to the train. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So for you to do that,
well, that was one of the reasons why I said eventually I must move to Manhattan, and I did, and I made that happen at age 20. It's in the book, but I wound up taking over Keith Richards' pharmacist's apartment on the Upper East Side.
Really, his pharmacist, Keith Richards. Mike, what about this?
Let's dig a little deeper there. Tell me about this pharmacist. What was he prescribing Keith? Because I'm interested.
Wait, say that again?
What did you see? What kind of medication did you see or know about that Keith might have been doing?
Well, there was a lot. Well, I mean, by the 19
Quaaludes, right?
As far as I don't know. Like, I'm not that well versed. I mean, one of the things about my book and my whole story is that I remain this innocent kid who never did drugs with the Rolling Stones.
You got an innocent face. You look innocent.
Right? Well, the thing is, yeah, go ahead. You can't.
No, sorry to interrupt. I didn't see my pencil. I wasn't on screen. Hang on a second. You're hanging with the Rolling Stones. I'm fast forwarding just a second. And let's just say Mick Jagger's chopping some lines out, and it's ducking Mick. I said ducking Mick Jagger. You're not gonna, and he pushes it over to you, and you're not gonna do it because the first time I did coke, I did it with Slash and Matt Sorum and the coke dealer and Jerry Finn. And it was I'll never forget that moment.
It's a kids channel, Mike. It's a kids channel. What are you doing?
I'm saying I don't do drugs. I mean, I'm clean, but I'm saying that's the first time I did.
Bill, don't do drugs. Don't do drugs, Bill. Be careful, Bill. You know what happened? Mike Fasano, Bill, he's legit to talk to. Look,
I know.
He saved lives. He saves lives. Okay.
So you never did drugs with him. I can't, to me,
I drank, my share of Jack Daniels with those guys. You kind of had no choice because it came out of the kitchen tap, at Ron Wood's house. Like, it was Jack Daniels, so you had to drink it. But no, the blow I didn't go for. The pills, I don't even know what pills they did, to be honest. I saw all the colors, but I don't know what was what. There was a ton of blow every night, and for me, I know this is going to sound corny, but it's really what got me through. Is like, for me, the high was hanging out with my favorite rock stars. That was the high for me, as corny as that sounds. And then the other thing is because I'm doing this newsletter where I'm providing all this information to my readers, like, I am actually news gathering while I'm hanging out with the Stones. So I'm sitting across the kitchen table from Keith, and if he's saying, we're going into the studio next week, man. We're going to record that song, Munich Hilton. And so it's like, oh, shit, I have to write this down on an index card and put it in the next issue of the fanzine. And if I'm too stoned to remember any of this stuff, then it messes up, my job. I did have a job to do, and I wanted to remain sober for it. So, like, those are my two big reasons. Actually, there's one other reason that I didn't do blow with the Stones. And that's because of, like, if you ever saw the movie Annie Hall, where they put some blow in front of him, Paul Simon, and he sneezes $2,000 worth of coke. I was like, that's going to be me. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to. So those are my three reasons. Actually, a fourth reason is that because I was so inexperienced at doing drugs, I figured I'm the one that's going to turn blue and be on the front page of the New York Post. Teenage Stones fan dies in Keith Richards' hotel room or something like that.
It's great. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to raise the pen, Mike, before we don't get in trouble.
Oh, and wait, one more thing is that I think it's on the jacket of my book cover. It says something like, this guy was sober enough to remember it all. And so that's true. It's somewhere on the back jacket or front jacket. I don't know. But yeah, and it is true that I was able to write this book because I mostly remained sober. Like I said, I did my share of Jack Daniels with these guys because that's all they drank. That's all you had around. And I enjoyed it and got drunk on some nights. But I think Corey's raising his pen.
Go ahead, raise a pen, Corey. What do you got? Oh, Corey, ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Leviton.
I want to hear the story about the night that you jammed with the Stones, or most of them.
Right. Well, so Ronnie Wood's house on West 78th Street, like that was the hangout. And part of that was like Keith didn't want people coming to his house. He lived various apartments in Manhattan, and he didn't want all of like the drug addicts and drug dealers and certain rock stars to come to his house because he, found himself in a steady relationship. He married Patty Hansen. They had a kid in 1985. So Keith didn't want all these bad dudes coming over to his house. Whereas Ron Wood, who had a 5-story townhouse on West 78th Street, he was very willing to have all these shady characters. And you walk in to Ronnie Wood's house and you have no idea who you're going to see there. You're going to see like legitimate celebrities, of the time, like Andy Warhol, Michael J. Fox, Matt Dillon used to hang out there a lot. And then you have like these, no-name drug dealers that are hanging out, and they're all mixed in. I used to tell people it's almost like the Joe Franklin show, how everyone used to sit on the same couch, like all these losers with someone.
It's like our show right here.
I mean, that's what Ron Wood's house was like. You walk in there, and most nights there was like, the minute you walk in, there's already like a dozen people there. And if you leave at like 4 or 5 in the morning, Ronnie Wood's going to say, "Why are you leaving so early?" And so anyway, to Corey's question. So one night, the doorbell rings, and and Ronnie's he had this security camera that never worked. Everything in Ronnie Wood's house, in Ronnie Wood's life, really is broken to some extent, including his security camera at the front door of his 5-story townhouse on 78th Street. So, and we have no idea who it is. And his wife goes to open the door, and Mick walks in. And Ronnie and I are, at the time, in the kitchen. We were working on a book. I did co-author a book with Ronnie Wood, and we were working on it. And Mick comes in, and he says, "Well, yeah, I want to go down to the basement, Ronnie, because I want to record a demo." And it was actually a demo for Mick's next solo album. And which, like, if Keith had found out about that, Keith would have come over to the house and killed all 3 of us, because Keith always wanted to keep the Stones together. He didn't believe in any of this solo shit, And here's Mick, who's already planning, this is like late 1985, he's already planning his second solo album before the Stones had a chance to release their first album under this new contract with CBS Records, which turned out to be the Dirty Work album. Anyway, so Mick comes over, and he has this idea for a song for his solo album, and he wants to use Ronnie Wood's recording studio in Ronnie's basement. So the 3 of us go down there, and Mick and Ronnie lay down the basic tracks of this song, which did get released. It was on Mick's second solo album. It was a song called "Peace for the Wicked" on Mick's album, Primitive Cool, it was called. Anyway, at this point, it's called Soul City. It was just a working title. And he starts teaching the song to me and Ronnie. Mick is teaching us the song. Here's how it goes. All right. Soul City, free and easy. Soul City, the girls are pretty. I didn't say it was a good song, but, this is Mick's solo stuff. And so Mick is holding, there was only one microphone in the whole basement. And Mick is holding the mic, and I'm here, and Ronnie is here, and we are now singing the chorus. So sit down, free and easy. And I'm trying to do my Mick impersonation for Mick. He has no idea. And I think I sounded like Dwight D. Eisenhower.
I think you sound great. I think you're doing a great job.
It sounds like it.
No, better than I can do.
Thank you.
Let me see the Yentas in the chat do their own, get Bill German on their show. I love these stories. Don't worry about the Yentas. You keep doing it.
I already have enough Yentas in my life.
You're putting the color together. So you're in the middle there.
So anyway, we're down there in the basement, and we're singing this song, and it's like, oh my God. I mean, even though I got used to all this and got very jaded, there is a point when, I'm 22 years old at this point, and I'm like, I am singing back vocals with Mick Jagger and Ron, for a demo tape for Mick Jagger's next solo album. So anyway, then what happens is the doorbell rings. We don't even hear it because we're down in the basement and we're blasting the playback so loud. But the doorbell rings, and Mick's bodyguard, who had been upstairs in the living room this whole time, he comes down and says, hey guys, the doorbell's ringing. So Ronnie goes upstairs to see what's going on. And it turns out that it was the cops, because it was like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And we're blasting it so loud, and even though it's in the basement and it's soundproofed, I guess the neighbors heard it and they called up, as they did many times, to report on Ron Wood and the noise that he's making. So Ronnie's upstairs dealing with all the noise, dealing with the cops, I should say. And now it's just me and Mick in the basement. And we had just had like this great, camaraderie, and I'm singing backup on his demo tape. And he just turns like in 1 second. This is the thing with Mick. They used to give him a nickname. Keith and Ronnie would call him a nice bunch of guys, because you never knew from 1 minute to the next which Mick Jagger you're going to get. Like from 1 minute to another.
Really?
So like I said, Ronnie goes upstairs to tend to the police officers. And now it's me and Mick in the basement. And all of a sudden, we had been laughing the whole night and drinking. And now it's like, I don't like what you wrote. I don't like it about Live Aid. And it was something that I had just written in my fanzine, where for the most part, I had editorial control. That's a whole other story. But and I wrote the fact that the Stones did not want to play at Live Aid at all. And that they eventually got emotionally blackmailed into doing it by Bill Graham. Because Bill Graham, the promoter of Live Aid, got all these other bands to reunite, right? Like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. And everybody is reuniting to help feed these starving kids in Africa. And it would now look bad if the Stones don't do it. So Mick was the first one to cave. And he decides to, put together some like pathetic band with Hall & Oates. And he does get Tina Turner to come out. And maybe, in some people's viewpoint, that is the highlight of Live Aid. And then Keith and Ronnie team up with Bob Dylan, and they wind up closing the show and all that. And, Dylan pops a string and, whatever. That was kind of a disaster, but it was on point, at least, some of the songs that they did that night. But anyway, the point is that Mick was really pissed off that I said the only reason he did Live Aid was out of emotional blackmail. And now he's literally in my face. I don't like it. It's not true. It's not true. How dare you? How dare you?
Wow.
Accuse me of, caving into emotional blackmail. And at this point, I'm 22, 23 years old. And like, I have one of my favorite rock stars, like totally chewing me out. I mean, he was coming in for the kill, and he was like getting right up to my face. And I'm like literally backing away from him. And then, that conversation ended when Ronnie Wood came back downstairs and told us it was the cops. And one other part of it that I'm leaving out is that at some point while Mick is yelling at me, I notice that he's got like white rings on his nostrils. And I'm thinking, maybe
I'm saying.
Crap. I was like, I'm hoping this is just crap. It was sort of like that skit with John Belushi. And then they pull away, and he's actually eating a powdered donut, but this was not a powdered donut. Keith and Ronnie were doing it the whole night. So.
Fasano, what are you going to say on that one?
No. That's what I'm saying. I love it. This is what I want to hear.
This is what I want to hear too. So the nostril, hold on, Bill. The nostril. So he's in your face. So you got the perfect meet and greet right now, where people would pay millions to get Mick Jagger in your face, but you got blown out Jagger in your face. How cool is that?
Yeah.
It's priceless.
At the time, it really
did his lips hit you?
It's jarring. What's that?
Did his lips hit you?
Like, was he so crazy, Bill? Was he so crazy? Like he spit at you by accident? When you get angry.
I'm sure I got some spittle on me, some Mick Jagger spittle. Yes.
Yeah, because yesterday my screen was all like splatted from Fasano. He went crazy on me yesterday. If you watch Fasano, yesterday we got blown out Fasano over there. Yesterday. He got crazy on me. So this is crazy. This is a great. I'm trying to picture this. So That Jagger yelling at you. What year was that Jagger?
But, so that's like end of '85.
Okay.
Maybe beginning of '86. Like it was either December '85, January of '86. But the point is like right around that same time, my doorbell rings one day, and there are flowers from Mick Jagger for Christmas, poinsettias for Christmas, with a note, Merry Christmas, Bill. Love, Mick and Jerry. So,
Oh, that's sweet.
Dead flowers?
Dead flowers. That's sweet. He came to his senses the next day. That's like when.
Well, that's the thing. Well, like Keith and Ronnie would call him, he's a nice bunch of guys. You never know from one day to the next. Which Mick you're gonna get. Right?
Hey, Bill, let me ask you a question about the Stones. Out of the Stones, who is the one with the temper? Would you say of all of them has the temper?
Well, Mick and Keith. I mean, it depends what it is. Keith, the temper, I think, is mostly like artistic stuff, and Mick might be more business stuff. I mean, I know that's almost a cliche that Mick is the businessman and Keith, but it really is true. And then Mick could also get pissed off, like if fans get too close or something like that.
Does he get annoyed when the fans? He goes, I don't want to talk to these people. Who's more cooler with the fans? When you say out the fans?
Keith is totally cool with the fans. And I mean, when I look back at what he did with me, I mean, he was so above and beyond the call of duty. He didn't have to do shit for me, and Ronnie would too. I mean, those two guys were the two most helpful people for me. Doing my fanzine. The fanzine lasted for 17 years.
That's. You have a copy of the fanzine right in front of you, real quick?
I have like some from the 1980s. Let's see, what do we have here? So here's one. Okay.
So that's what you brought when you first met the Stones. You went to Danceteria. You had that one of those fanzines in
something like this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't have like the fancy color then. I didn't have the logo. So like this logo. Long story short, at some point, the Stones made me my little stupid fanzine that I, typed in my pajamas and printed in my high school's mimeograph room. They made it their official fanzine, and they advertised it in one of their albums. And if any of you vinyl junkies have your original copy of the Undercover album, which came out in 1983, there's like a little flyer in there that says "Subscribe to Beggars Banquet."
Wow! I remember the poster, but I forgot. Oh man, now I got to find it. Could you flip through some pages on the screen to show the viewers?
So, and I was when the Stones make my thing, their official newsletter. I'm 20 years old, and I'm dealing with their lawyers, the big freaking Rolling Stones attorneys.
It all turned from rock and roll. Wow, it turned
contracts, and so
look at that.
I don't know how much I'm showing here.
No, that's cool. Hold it up. Yeah, that's
old. Oh wait.
That's like history for these people out there. Hey, Bill, so you could get copies of these on your site right here.
This is true. Yeah.
BillGerman.com. You guys go down there. You can check it out. I'll put a link because you got to check out Bill's website too. He has some great stuff there. I'm going to put the link for this.
And it had I always told really unique type of stories. So there, if you could see, I don't know if I'm doing a good job of showing the picture. But there's a picture of Keith jamming on the street. Jamming on.
Wow.
What street is it? On 19th Street, because he was recording his solo album and there was a fire in the studio. So him and Steve Jordan and Charlie Drayton go on the street. They took their instruments in case the whole studio went up on fire, and they just start jamming on the street.
Those all photos from you? You took those photos?
No, I didn't take any of the photos.
Okay.
The good thing is that I knew a lot of photographers, and I developed relationships with tons of the most famous photographers. So like Bob Gruen, became a friend of mine. Here's some more. I mean, every page there's some kind of story you never heard before or picture.
Oh, that's great. That picture of Run DMC, that looks like Ken over there, our buddy who does some of the graphics for us when you had it.
You know who that was? That was Bobby Womack.
Oh, it was Bobby. He looked like Ken in there. That was Bobby Womack. That's great. Let me ask you. Okay, I know Corey has his pen up. Corey, I'm going to be rude. So the first day, tell me about the day when you first were going to meet the Stones. You had a copy of your fanzine magazine. Don't be mad, Corey. You'll get your chance. Are you mad, Corey? Did I cut you out? Huh? Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Mike, is it okay I asked that question? Okay, Mike, you approve. Okay, thank you. Bill, really quick. I just got to make sure the guys are happy. We had a coffee talk. What are you look, he gave me the FU on his mug. Look at
No, no, no.
Look at Bill. He doesn't want me to ask a question. He gave me F you. Screw you too, Bill. Get rid of the guest. No, really. Everybody hates Adika. Hey, it's like this. Look. Really quick question, Bill. You had your magazine. You came from Brooklyn. You took the bus to the train. You're going to meet the Stones. What was that experience like trying to turn them on to Bill German? Tell me that.
Okay, so at this point, I'm 17 years old. It's literally 2 days after my high school graduation. So it's June of 1980. And I've been doing the fanzine for like a year and a half at that point. And I, was pretty proud of my stupid little fanzine. And so I bring the issue. I'm not on the guest list. And I just stand there. I find out that the party is supposed to start at 3:00 in the afternoon because it was a press party. And I had no connection. So I'm not getting into this party. So I'm just standing there on the street. And Danceteria, there was like no marking outside. Like nobody knew that the Stones were coming in. No, there was no way to know that the Rolling Stones were coming into this party. So I'm just waiting for them. And they don't show up. I see all these stupid news reporters showing up who I know, like Lou O'Neill.
Lou O'Neill, that's right.
and like this person from the Channel 5 entertainment thing and Channel 9 entertainment reporter or whatever. And they're all getting into this party. And me, the true Rolling Stones fan, is not getting into this party. And there's no way I can get in. So I'm just waiting, and the Stones don't show up for their 3:00 party until like 4:45. And 2 limos show up. Mick shows up first, and he gets out, and he just kind of gives off a vibe like, yeah, don't come near me. So I'm like, all right, he didn't say that, but like that's just the vibe he gave off. So I'm like, I'm not going anywhere near this guy. So I just clutch my fanzine and like, that's it. We'll play this out, see what happens. And then another limo shows up, and that one is Keith, Ronnie, and Bill Wyman. Charlie did not show up to this party, which started all these breakup rumors, and that Charlie's quitting the band. But anyway, so it's Keith, Ronnie, and Bill Wyman get out of the second limo. And I kind of take the same attitude with them, even though they seem much friendlier and they make eye contact with me. And I'm the only person on the sidewalk at this point. So, but I figured, like, if I give them the fanzine, on their way into the party, they're just going to wind up crumpling it up, or, they're going to lose it. So I figure I'll wait for them to come out. And that's what I did. And so I waited like a half hour, 45 minutes. The Stones didn't stick around at this party long. And they just did some sound bites for TV news. And then they leave in the same order. Mick leaves first, gets into his limo. I'm like, I'm not even going to approach him. And then Keith, Ronnie, and Bill come out. And that's actually the cover of my book here. The cover is actually, what's going on here is Keith with his bottle of Jack Daniels. There's a better photo in the book, actually. But Keith is he's just walking along 37th Street after this party, having pilfered a bottle of Jack. There, you can see the Jack there. And that's me there. Handing an issue of my fanzine to Ronnie Wood, because at this point fans did figure something out, because there were all these limos parked outside. So fans, and they were asking me like, hey, what's going on in there? And I said, well, the Rolling Stones are in there. So now, thanks to me, there were like 20 fans who were getting out of work. Now it's like 5:30 in the afternoon, and people are just waiting for the Rolling Stones to come out. And so there are all these fans surrounding Keith, including like the paparazzo that took this photo. So I said, well, let me go over to Ronnie and give him the issue. And you could sort of see his hand like peeking out in the photo. He gets cut off, but that's me in the background, 17-year-old me handing it to Ronnie Wood. So they take it. Ronnie Wood, first he says, I tell him this is the fanzine. I said, hey, this is the fanzine I do about you guys. And he's like, oh, nice. Yeah, And I had, through connections that I had at the record company, I had advanced photos of the album cover. So Ronnie Wood was like, hey, how do you get that? It's only coming out today. And I said, well, I know people, whatever. And he takes the fanzine into the limo, and I could see into the limo for a few seconds. And and Keith is sitting right next to Ronnie, and Ronnie is reading the fanzine, and Keith is like, what the fuck is that, man? And Ronnie Wood is that kid there, he gave this to me, and they both look at me, and then they drive away, and that starts the whole thing. And I mean, there was a part of me, I kept my cool the whole time. Like I said, I gave them something as opposed to take something from them. And I made a good impression by doing that. And it was sincere. I really didn't want anything from them. I didn't give a shit about an autograph or a handshake. I really felt I was on a mission, and I knew so many people because the Stones lived here at the time and were going to so many nightclubs. I knew a lot of people who were running into the Stones at nightclubs. So I was like, eventually that has to be me. So I kind of felt like it was my birthright to finally meet them. And then once that happened, I started going up to their office and dropping off the issues. And they said that they were giving them to the Stones. And at first I didn't believe them, but then I would hear from certain paparazzi photographers who would say, oh, I was, stalking Mick Jagger in front of his house on Central Park West, and he walked out with an issue of your fanzine,
Oh, wow.
When you're 17 years old, like, wow, that is a big deal. And it really encouraged me to keep going.
Wow.
So,
I mean, that's crazy. That era, because I remember New York exactly like yesterday, and that whole era, you being at that age from Brooklyn going there, that's huge. I mean, it's almost like they seemed untouched. They were still like royal.
And yet they were really accessible. Like, that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I chose this picture for the cover of the book. Actually, like I said, there's a better version inside.
I might have a copy of it over here as an overlay. Oh yeah, let me go look at that for a second. Hold on, right there. Yeah, that's the picture. Yeah, look how cool Keith is. Just so that
right. Pilfered a bottle of Jack.
Was he with Anita at that?
No,
he was not. That was like. Have you ever met Anita Pallenberg? Have you met her?
I did, but just for like a minute here and there, like at a concert in England, a couple of times. But again, she would not have remembered me or anything like that.
I know Corey. Corey got Corey and Mike. All right, you guys duel it out. Who goes first? I'm staying out of it.
Sword fight.
Let the birthday boy go first.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. By the way, belated happy birthday, Corey.
Don't worry. He hates his birthday.
Because I figured, well, this is one of the other 365 days. Like, he's definitely bullshitting again.
No, Bill. He's a complete idiot. Don't let him fool you. The guy's over there. He starts trouble with his wife yesterday, his kid, and then we're not allowed to call his wife. That's a whole nother story. Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later. This is your time, Bill. Hey, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
Go, Corey. Sorry, Corey. Go ahead.
No. The other story that I loved from your book, I don't remember the details because it's been so long since I sent it to the black hole known as Stefan. Is the night that Keith was hanging out with your parents? Was that like a party for you, like a birthday party for you?
Yeah, no, it was actually the 10th anniversary party for the fanzine. So I started the fanzine in the fall of 1978, and then in the fall of 1988, I decided to throw a party to celebrate the fanzine and to thank all the people who had a hand in it. And mind you, much of the fanzine was a one-man show. I did so much on my own. But I wanted to thank people like the printer and, anyone that worked for the Stones and all that. So I invited everybody, and all the Stones were out of town except for Keith. And Keith actually showed up. And the thing with my parents were in their mid-50s at this point. And I was like, well, this party is for young people, not for people in their mid-50s.
Like us.
I almost did not invite my parents.
Wow.
Because like you were saying, Stefan, it is a bit of a schlep from southern Brooklyn to come into Manhattan.
Oh, totally.
So I wind up inviting my parents because I know that deep down they're so proud of me. They couldn't name you a single freaking Rolling Stone song, but they were proud of me. And so I figured I'm not going to deny them this. I have to invite them to my party. So my parents come to the party, and it never occurs to me to introduce Bernie and Sylvia German to Keith Richards.
Love it.
Because I figure, they love like Fiddler on the Roof. They don't know anything about the Stones. Why would they want to meet Keith Richards? And really, why would Keith Richards want to meet them? But at one point, I'm busy talking to a bunch of other people at my party, and I see all these flash bulbs going off. And my parents and Keith are being paparazzi. And they're just like yucking it up together. And eventually I find out what happened from eyewitnesses. And it's that Keith was walking past my parents, and Bernie says, hey, Keith, we're Bill's parents. And Keith turns around and goes, you've got quite a boy there. And they just have like this little conversation. And the thing is, my parents, like I said, they couldn't give a shit about Keith Richards or the Stones, but they knew that Keith, I mean, as fans, they couldn't give a shit, but they knew that Keith was someone important in my life. So they wanted to introduce themselves and say, you know, thank you for treating our Billy so, you know, generously all these years and all that. So yeah, it was a really cool. Sweet moment.
That is cool. That is a sweet moment over there. Mikey, what were you going to ask him, Billy, a question over here?
Yeah, I was just like wondering when you had given the fanzines out and the management's giving it to the band, when did you cross the line where you were not cross the line, or when did you get inside the door where you had a personal in with them and not through management, or was it always still through management?
Well, it was largely still through management, but the thing is, because they were so accessible at these nightclubs, what happened is I would start to see them at some of these clubs, and I would like come up to them and like, hey, Keith, here's the latest issue. And he'd be, yeah, man, you know, I already got it. You know, I read it on the can, you know, just last night. You know, I dig it.
Right on.
Like, wow, like the Stones are reading my fanzine on the can, you know? So it just kind of snowballed, and like I knew that they really knew about me and that they were getting the issues, that management was passing it on. And, you know, and then, you know, and then I started to like get backstage at a few shows, and I would see them there. And it was just like this kind of relationship of like, hey, Keith, hey, Ronnie, do you have the latest issue? And they would say, yeah, you know. And also I would start dropping it off at their houses. Once I found out where they lived, I would start dropping it off at their houses. So like they never forgot who I was. And like I said, I would start to see them independently of management. And then what happens is I get a phone call one day from someone in their management who says that Mick and Keith love your fanzine and they want it to be part of like this whole kind of merchandising campaign that they're starting in 1983, and it's going to be advertised in the Undercover album and all that, which I was telling you guys about earlier. By the way, here's a picture of my parents with Keith from that night.
How cool!
Wow, your mom's great.
Bernie and Sylvia from
great.
Brooklyn.
I know, my mom looks like Linda Richmond from the other Coffee Talk.
That's right. Oh, that's great.
Oh my God.
Look at Keith over there. But you can tell Keith's enjoying himself. Look at him in the picture. He's looking at your mom with a smile.
Yeah,
look at your dad. Your dad
is mental.
I never saw my dad beaming like that. Like I said, they couldn't name you a single Rolling Stone song, but they were just like so proud of me. It's really tough.
So now you're building a relationship. You're getting close with the Stones. So you did in your book Flap 2. You're going over to their house. You have like kind of a Woody Allen moment. Orange juice, rugs. What's that all about?
Oh yeah.
What happened there?
So now that my fanzine becomes like their official fanzine, it's advertised in Undercover, and the Stones management is asking me like, what do you want from us? Like, what can we do to help you and make the fanzine better? So I said, all right, well, we could start with me interviewing Mick and Keith, and they said, okay. Really? So I go over to Mick's house. He was living on West 81st Street, 81st and West End Avenue. So he lets me in. It's like around noontime, and he lets me in, and we go upstairs. This is a universal symbol for a staircase, big staircase. And we just keep walking all, 5 stories up to his den, and the window is open, and we hear the shrieking of like little girls. And Mick, I don't know what the hell it is. And Mick says, yeah, this is like one of the nicest neighborhoods in New York, but it can get really noisy during recess. And it turns out that Mick Jagger, you'd think that there would be a law against this, but Mick Jagger was living right next door to an all-girl middle school.
Oh my.
And so during recess, all the girls were yelling and screaming out in the yard and all that. But so his house was right next door to it. In fact, he just about 10 years ago sold his house to the school, and they use it as an office now at 81st and West End Avenue. But anyway, so we go up to his den, and I start interviewing him. And Mick is, he's not as good an interview as Keith. Like Keith, you get him rolling, and he won't shut up. Mick will give you like one sentence answers. Mick could give you one word answers. So if you're interviewing him, it can get a little frustrating at times.
It's like Roxy and Adika. Yeah, no, it's good.
So, I'm trying to spice things up a bit with him. And at one point I asked him, what music are you listening to right now? So he gets up from the chair. He said, good one, Bill, let me check. And he goes into an alcove, and I hear him flipping through LPs. This is 1983. I hear him flipping through LPs, and he's like calling out to me from this alcove. He's like, well, listening to the new Herbie Hancock, the one that's got Rocket on it, and listening to the new Bette Midler, she does Beast of Burden.
Oh, wow.
And as he's telling me all this, I'm like, well, let's see what books he's reading. So I get up to see what's on his bookcase. This will really help round out my article. Mm-hmm. And as I get up from my chair, I accidentally knock a glass of Minute Maid orange juice that was at my feet. And now I see my OJ spill all over Mick Jagger's 16th century Persian rug. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my first time here. By the way, this is the day after my 21st birthday.
Oh,
my first time at Mick Jagger's house. So I'm like, oh my God, what a way to ingratiate myself. So I don't know what to do. There's no way to stop this river of orange juice that's going across. And I'm like, Mick, and I don't hear any response. And I'm calling out to the alcove, Mick, no response. He comes back in 15, 20 seconds later, and he has a towel in his hand. And he gets down, he had seen the whole thing, apparently, and he gets down on his hands and knees, and he is now blotting up my mess. And, like I said, I'm 21 years and a day old at this point, and the vision of Mick Jagger on his hands and knees blotting up my mess is something I will never forget.
Was he going friggin' fragging?
Well, no, so that's the thing. Like I said, Mick could be really charming one day, he could be really nasty the next. This day, he was thoroughly charming because I was really apologetic. I'm like, oh my God, I am so sorry. And he's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, don't tell Jerry Hall about this. They were living together. Oh, don't tell Jerry about this. He's like, don't worry. Besides, this is my room. So, he was really nice about it.
Man, so you were lucky. You got nice Mick on that day.
I got nice Mick on that day.
What about the whole the narc? Tell us about the little narc thing I see over here.
Well, that was something that would come up from time to time, which is, you're sitting with Keith Richards or Ronnie Wood, and you're sitting with some of their shady friends and their shady dealers and all that. And, like we discussed earlier, I'm the one that, is not doing the drugs. Out of a room of, 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, there's one kid, who's not doing it. So occasionally someone would say, hey Keith, what's the deal with this guy? What is he, a narc or something? And Keith would, come to my defense. And, this is just, Bill's here to interview me, get some news bits, for his fanzine. Bill's cool, And that's how I was able to survive without doing drugs around the Rolling Stones.
I love you doing Keith Richards because he's so casual. Would he get, the more he go just drinking and having a good time, would he be just more looser, Keith, and get more of the flair? The risk.
Yes.
It's so great.
Well, I have one story in the book where I was actually in Tokyo with him, and he did so many pills that eventually he just kind of wound down. I guess they were downers, and he just wound down like a wind-up toy, just slowing up. And his assistant had to come and take him out and bring him to his own room. But yeah.
Wait. Mike went first, Corey. Hold on. I saw the pen.
No,
Mike.
Well, no, just to talk about the guys like that. We've been to many parties with our rock star friends where the drug dealers there, or the beggars and hanger honors guys that were there, those guys that were there because they had the drugs for the guys, but they were also sort of douchebags at the same time.
Not me. I never been there. Not me, Mike.
Well, I have, and I'm sure Corey has. I'm sure Mike has. I mean, they're there. They're around these guys, and they're there for a reason. And the only reason these rock star guys like these guys is because they could have the pill or the coke or the pot or the whatever they're doing, or the chicks, or they bring the chicks because like the Rolling Stones or the Guns N' Roses guys can't get enough chicks. These guys bring the chicks, and they're sort of the douchebags. That's the only reason they're hanging around. You had a purpose, on the other hand, because you were writing a fanzine and not partying.
It's what made me stand out, and it also made them trust me. Like, wow. I mean, I have a story in there about being left alone in Ron Wood's house. And they would only do that for me. They would not have done that with one of the drug dealer guys because they could trust me in terms of everything. You know, I'm not going to walk out with the silverware. I mean, I have a story in the book about some of the parties getting so rowdy at Ronnie Wood's house that someone walked out with the big Sony color.
Come on. That's great. That's great.
It's really true. And like the next day, you know, Ronnie wakes up at the usual like 6 p.m. and goes to flip on, Walter Cronkite or whatever. And it's like, there's no TV in the living room. And he like calls out to his wife, hey, Joe, have you seen the Sony Trinitron? And it's like, well, no, someone walked out with it last night. And then they have to do like an inventory. Well, who was here last night? Which of our dope dealing friends was here last night and is capable of stealing the TV? And that's the thing. It's like
nobody realized.
Innocent Bill German, they know that he's not walking out with it. Right. How do you fucking walk out of it?
Excuse me. Hey, don't bump me. I'm trying to do a bump over here. Right. The guy at the TV just knocked over the blow. What the hell's going on?
It's a true story. I mean, it really happened. And Ronnie Wood had this 5-story townhouse. And someone could just walk out with a TV. And they knew that, innocent little Bill German isn't going to do that. Yeah, he might be a dork and he might be a geek. And there may have been things that I was like excluded from, let's say, because I'm the one person not doing the blow. Let's not do it in front of Bill, although I saw it many, many times. But that's the thing too. Like they even knew that they could trust me that I'm not going to write about it in the fanzine. I eventually wrote about it in my book as a memoir. But they knew that they could trust me with their shit.
They felt good. Let me ask you, Bill. You built a relationship. Did they ever go into talking about like Brian Jones off the record with you, like things about Brian Wyman, anybody?
That was the one thing like they never discussed with me, and like they never said it was off limits. But I knew kind of like not to bring up Brian with them. And the only time Keith ever talked to me about Brian was during a formal interview. I interviewed him and I was asking him about John Belushi because I knew that Keith knew Belushi. So I said, did you see it coming as far as Belushi? Because Keith was with him like, a few months before it happened.
Yeah.
And Keith said, yeah, you see it coming, but there's nothing you can say. And what he told me was that Belushi had real Brian Jones vibes going on there. And that what he said was Brian had a real like overdo it kind of attitude. And if anyone went up to Brian Jones and said, Brian, cool it, because if you keep going on this path, you will be dead, Brian would just kind of double down, Yeah. And he said it was the same thing with Belushi. You couldn't say to him, hey, John, quit it or you will be dead. So it was just like, hey, it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. But anyway, that's the only time that he really ever mentioned Brian Jones to me.
It's for them not to kind of not discuss Brian Jones. There's a lot of hidden things there. You see some documents like definitely like Bill. It seemed like Bill was out of the Stones. I don't know who were the closest. You would know better than me, but from interviews,
it was Bill and Charlie.
Bill and
Charlie went to his funeral, whereas Mick and Keith did not. And
that
Bill to this day is like really pissed off that Mick and Keith did not go to Brian's funeral.
Yeah, that baffles me. They started this band together as kids. They just lost one of their brothers. But
right. But I mean, there's the old saying, "No Jones, no Stones," and it's really true that Brian started the band. He was chronologically the #1 Rolling Stone.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, he was the style. He got them all playing. I mean, technically, he was the guy. Was he teaching Keith riffs and stuff? He was the
Yeah,
guy.
well, he was like really into Jimmy Reed. You know, the Chuck Berry stuff is obvious, but you know, like Brian's thing was Jimmy Reed, and he got Keith into Jimmy Reed, and a lot of the old blues guys that he turned him on to. Yeah.
But I know it always says Jagger Richards on the songwriting too. I'm just going off on a tangent now. But Brian Jones, how much did he have contributing to songwriting? Because it always said Jagger Richards. I mean, the guy, when he just
I mean that's before my time, so I don't know, but
yeah.
Obviously Brian added a lot of the instrumentation. You know, it's Brian that sits down to play, you know, the sitar or whatever, or flute or something like that. That's his idea. Whether or not that deserves a writing credit, I don't know. But
yeah.
That's the story with every band who has a junkie in it, and you know, after a while, you kind of tire of a person being unreliable, not showing up to recordings, showing up stoned and unable to produce. And you know, Mick and Keith were young, and they still had their futures ahead of them, and I think they just didn't want to be slowed down by this junkie they had in their band.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a great question from Ashley Alexander. Here, read that to Bill over there, Oive.
Ashley says, did Bill ever interview Andrew Luke Oldham?
All right. That's almost a trick question because I never interviewed Andrew Luke Oldham, but Andrew Luke Oldham interviewed me.
Wow, really?
And I have
That's a flip.
I mean, if you're willing to do a little sidetrack, I could go into a whole story about Andrew Luke Oldham.
Yeah, let's go right there. Yeah.
All right. So, for people who aren't aware, Andrew Luke Oldham discovered the Stones in 1963. You know, someone told him to go to a nightclub and see them. And Andrew had worked briefly for the Beatles. He worked for Brian Epstein as a publicist. And he was also like in the fashion industry, knew Mary Quant, like all the, you know, swinging London stuff. But anyway, someone tells him, go out and check out this cover band called the Rolling Stones. He goes and sees them. They were already kind of semi-managed by somebody else, but Andrew goes and says, that's it. I'm signing you guys to a management deal. We're going to get you a record deal and all that. And he does all that. And he makes them into the bad boys, contrasted to the Beatles, who are the good boys. So Andrew is largely responsible, you know, for the Rolling Stones becoming the bad boy Rolling Stones. Okay, that said. So Andrew gets sacked by the Stones, or forced to quit the Stones in 1967 as their manager and producer. And he kind of floundered around for a while. He worked with other bands. He worked with the Small Faces. He also discovered Marianne Faithfull. He worked with Jimmy Cliff for a time. And, you know, he just worked on various projects, but nothing as big as the Stones. Well, I wound up doing PR work for a local band from Canarsie called LA Trash. And they thought they were hoping to be the next New York Dolls, but it didn't work out that way. But anyway, and so in 1982, when they were doing a gig at Great Gildersleeves on the Bowery, I decided as a publicist to invite as many record industry people as possible so that they could get a manager or a record deal. I literally invited 80 people. And by the way, a little side story, the way I invited these people was by dressing up as a messenger. And I was like 19, 20 years old. And by going into these offices and saying, I have a package for Mr. Ahmet Ertegun. And inside was an invitation to come see this band that I was doing PR work for. So out of all those 80 record executives, the only person that showed up was Andrew Lou Oldham, who was living in New York on 57th Street and working out of the famous Brill building. So Andrew shows up, he sees their gig, and I take him backstage to meet the band afterwards. And he's like, that's it. Come to my office. We are going to sign a management deal. So he does sign them into a management deal, and which winds up not working out. But I wind up working with Andrew for about a year and a half while I'm doing my Rolling Stones fanzine. And Andrew and the Stones did not leave on amicable terms. So as I'm starting to develop a relationship with Keith in late 1982, early 83, I am also working with Andrew Luke Oldham in late 82, 83. And I was probably the only person in the world to be on the phone with each of them on the same day. And I'm only like 19, 20 years old. And I decided not to tell one about the other, of course.
Wow.
I mean, they eventually, reunited and became friends and all that. But at that time, they weren't. So anyway, the point is, I got to know Andrew Luke Oldham independent of the Rolling Stones, and that's why this story never made it into my book. It's going to hopefully make it into my next book. It's a much longer and funnier story than I could tell right now. But to get to Ashley's question, so when Under Their Thumb came out, Andrew had his show on Sirius Radio. I think it was Sirius XM at the time. I think the merger had already happened. But anyway, so he had his show on the Underground Garage channel. And he had me on his show, which normally he did from the jungles of Bogota, Colombia, which is where he was living. But this one particular week, he came up to New York and did his show in the studio. And he had me on to talk about my book for 4 hours. So anyway, to answer the question, I never interviewed Andrew Luke Oldham, but Andrew Luke Oldham interviewed me. And he was so nice. It was like mind-blowing how nice he was to me on the air and off the air.
I mean, he was the guy responsible for pushing them on writing songs, like
Right.
doing it. He was
Right. So that's the thing. And Corey can tell us all about, that the Stones weren't writing songs, and, they borrowed this song, I Want to Be Your Man from the Beatles. And because they just weren't writing their own songs. And Andrew knew that the way to become the next Beatles is stop doing covers and start doing original material. And the legend goes that Andrew literally locked Mick and Keith in a room and said, don't come out until you have a song or two. And that's what started it. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Keith and Andrew love to tell that story.
Oh, Keith likes to tell that story? He'll
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're hanging out with a Keith Richards or a Ronnie Wood, what's the story like Keith likes to go, like a story he'll keep repeating? It's like everybody has that story they always keep repeating.
Well, there's one that he put in his book that he loves to tell, which is, so the Stones were weaned on Chess Records, right? And they would get all the albums by mail order. It would take like, a month or two for it to go from Chicago to London. And that's how they got their Chuck Berry records and their Howlin' Wolf records and their Muddy Waters records. And then, when they start to have like a little bit of success, they come over to America in 1964 and they have like a little tour, which failed. And, but they go through Chicago. And they are honored to be able to go to Chess Studios at 2120 South Michigan Avenue in Chicago. And the story that Keith loves to tell, which has been debunked by others in the room, is we walk in, we idolize Muddy Waters, right? And we walk in the room there at Chess, and there's Muddy Waters painting the ceiling. And it's just not true that Muddy Waters was painting the ceiling. I heard that from like Bill Wyman, who was there, and Andrew, who was there. And it's like, yes, it's true. And they made a whole movie about it, that all the Chess Records artists got screwed. I mean, of their royalties and all that, everyone from Chuck to Muddy to Bo and all those people did not make the money they should have. But Muddy Waters was not on a ladder painting the ceiling.
I bought the story all these years.
Telling that story.
All right, screw the pen. The pen doesn't work.
Okay. No, go, Corey,
I'm
go.
sitting here for a half hour.
Well, these are good. I want to know. I can't believe the Muddy Waters. I always thought he really was painting. Okay, go ahead, Corey. Tell your story. Go ahead.
It's not a story. Bill's impressions are so eerily spot on. I actually want to hear his Mick and his Keith having a typical conversation about music.
Me too.
All right, well, first of all, it starts with the fact that that me and Keith, right? So we're quarantined together during all this, right? This whole COVID thing. And Keith's like, oh, well, you can use the Jack Daniels as a disinfectant, right? No, you can't use Jack as a disinfectant, right? Keith, right?
Hey, Nick, man, everyone says you can do it, and I've been using Jack for years. I never got the COVID, right? So trust me on it, Dr. Richards, right? All right, man. You will.
That's
I
good.
should feel like they're thumb players, right? I actually seriously was thinking of doing a one-man show as Keith, or maybe a two-man show as
You
I love
should.
it.
That's so
This
funny.
is great. I love it. Corey,
And by the way, it came about organically. I just hung out with these guys, but it's something that as a kid I used to do. I used to impersonate my father, and teacher and all that. It just came about naturally.
I don't want Bill to go. I want the show to go on longer. Ask a question. Go. If Bill has to go.
Bill, I have a question. So
Hey,
I relate.
for the first time. Sorry, I've been yakking too much.
No, you're great, man. I'm loving this. You and I are kind of similar. I got into my relationship world with Kiss, doing the same thing. I used to do a fanzine, and it's still remained my connection with them is still. Do you still keep in touch with the guys from the Stones, or how long did that go on?
Really, I really did kind of like burn out on it. Even without the drugs, I burned out on it. The whole experience and like the middle people and just how commercial it all got. The concerts and the overpriced concerts and all that.
Yeah.
And then just the fact that they all moved out of New York. I mean, the closest one geographically is Keith, who lives out in the sticks of Connecticut. So I kind of lost touch, and that's mostly on me. I know that sounds crazy, but like I just was like, because it's not a normal friendship. It was usually me calling them for the most part. It was understandable because they have so many people demanding, of their time, and their energy and all that. And then the other thing is when I started my book, I knew that there would be some stories that they might not be happy with on some level. And I just said, it might come off as like disingenuous or insincere if I'm, still trying to like slap them on the back and all that while I'm writing these stories. So I decided I'm not asking for any more backstage passes or anything like that. And that was a personal decision. But as a writer, I knew that I had to write this book, this memoir. And, it was just like bursting out of me, and I knew that was more important to me than like going backstage one more time or whatever. But I've maintained, like relationships through some of those middle people. So for instance, like, Keith did not contact me about my book. I sent it to him to the house in Connecticut. But Keith is not the kind of person who picks up the horn and calls anybody anyway, and he's not, he doesn't text, he doesn't do any of that stuff. But I heard from his niece who lives near him, they're like, oh yeah, Keith dug the book. And so, that's it. And of course, I didn't write the book for any of the Stones to be pleased or not pleased with. I really wrote it for my regular readers, for fellow Stones fans who could, appreciate my experience. Because I was just a fan like everyone else, who got led into the inner sanctum.
I mean, bringing you into the scene of the Stones, there's that book called Up and Down with the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another guy in their circle. He
was a drug dealer.
He was the drug dealer. So
right. I had a good co-author who, made it a pretty literate book.
But just their circle of bringing outsiders in. Okay, this guy just wrote this whole story about us. I'm sure Mick Jagger probably was not happy with that book. Were they a little weary of you as, bringing this new kid into their inner circle?
Maybe, I mean, like I said, they trusted me, but maybe in the back of their minds, hey, someday this kid's going to write a book. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, they don't know. How about over here, the Colonel? What's the Colonel saying over here?
The Colonel says, any chance of this book get reissued? I'd love to purchase it.
So I'm hoping it will be. You could still get it like on Kindle, I think. The author is like the last person to know. But what happened was I wanted to go order some for an event like almost a year ago or so, and I found out like they're out of books. Random House, my publisher, they said, well, we have no more. I said, well, you're going to reprint it, right? And like, no, we're done with this subject matter. So what's supposed to happen at some point is that I get the rights back to the book. And then I could either find a new publisher or maybe self-publish it. I don't know. But I'm hoping that it will get back into print. I mean, right now you could find a secondhand copy on eBay.
There's quite a few on eBay right now.
Yeah, there was a point last year when the Stones were touring where like the cheapest copy was like $50, $60.
Wow.
But I think it's come back down to normal now. It's down to like 25 or so.
That's crazy. Now on your site on BillGerman.com, what do you have? Do you have the original? Do you have a copy? You sell reprints?
So yeah, well, like I held up before, he reaches for the. So I do have like stacks of these issues. You could buy like 20 of them for $30, which is a pretty good deal, like $1.50 each.
Yeah, very very cool.
And those are like all the issues from the 1980s. You know, I did it for 17 and a half years. From 1978 to 1996.
That's cool. I want to right here. This photograph of you and Keith right there. Look at that copy. See, people are going to want to get that because Keith's holding a copy of that. Where's that picture taken?
That picture. Do you guys know a bar named JP's? It was on the Upper East Side. Now it's known as American Trash, or maybe just Trash. I forget. It was like First Avenue and 77th Street, between 77th and 78th, I think. Anyway, so it was this little bar called JP's, and it was owned by Jimmy Pullis, who also used to own the nightclub Tracks, which was the place that Keith used to go to all the time. So when Keith was approached to do an interview for Friday Night Videos, if you remember that show, NBC Friday Night Videos. So Keith suggested that they do it at Jimmy Pullis's little bar, not Tracks, but do it at the small bar, which was JP's there. And so if you look closely at the photo, I mean, you could see like the lights, the lighting, the TV lighting, and all that. So I got to go and witness Keith being interviewed for like 3 hours, only like 20 minutes of which wound up on the air. But during a break, I went and showed him the latest issue of my fanzine, and there was a photographer who snapped it. Chuck Pullen, the late great Chuck Pullen, was there.
Great shot. What a great shot with the classic. Look at the jack there. It's just great. The cigarette. It's just so rock and roll.
Right, that is classic Keith. I mean, he always has the jack nearby.
Yeah, it's just great. It's great. I love this photograph right here of you guys.
This photo, for some reason, I left this out of the book. I'm still not sure why. But anyway, this one was taken at RPM Studio. So the Stones record the Dirty Work album in two places. They do it in Paris in the summer of '85. And then also in the summer of '85, they come to New York to mostly do like mixing and overdubbing. So RPM Studios was on East 12th Street and just off Fifth Avenue. And Keith, you know, at this point, like Mick really didn't want to have anything to do with the Stones. This was like the midst of the Mick versus Keith feud. And so Mick would not show up to the studio until Keith and Ronnie were gone. And basically, or vice versa, Mick would get to the studio like 7 p.m. and leave around midnight. Keith and Ronnie would first get to the studio at midnight and stay until like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning because Mick and Keith hated each other so much during this time period.
Wow.
So anyways, but Keith, who was running the sessions, said, hey, Bill, you can, come up to the studio whenever you want, as long as Brenda is not there. And I'm like, Brenda? Who is Brenda? And it turns out that Keith was referring to Mick as Brenda behind his back.
That's funny.
Wow.
Which was
That's awesome.
At the time, nobody knew this. Now Keith wrote about it in his book, and most Stones fans know this. And but Keith was basically, it was just a passive aggressive way to refer to his, his prima donna lead singer. And it turns out that there was an author. Keith went into a bookstore in Paris and saw a book by an author named Brenda Jagger. So once Keith saw that, it was like, Brenda, that's my lead singer, Brenda.
The mockery started once it was like cracked open the door. It's like our show over here. The mockery just started caving in.
So Keith tells me to come up anytime but just make sure Brenda's not there. And so that required me calling the studio before I would come to the studio, and Ronnie Wood would usually answer at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And there was one morning where that picture was taken where like Mick stayed until like 4 in the morning. And then finally, Ronnie says, all right, Mick's gone, you can come. Or Brenda's gone, you can come up now. And so I go, and so that picture was taken at RPM Studio at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I guess I had just published a new issue, and so I brought it for them to read.
That's funny. What about the Chuck Berry sessions with Keith doing Chuck Berry? Were you around any of that stuff right there, Bill?
Well, so they did that movie together, Hail Hail Rock and Roll, and which the shooting was done in St. Louis. So I fly to St. Louis, and I saw the dress rehearsal in the theater. So there's like a famous scene where there's a rehearsal at Chuck's house in Wentzville, Missouri, and they get into this huge fight, and it's all caught on film. I was not there at Chuck's house, but I was there at the theater the night before the concert was filmed. And even there, you could see all this difficulty going on because Chuck refused to sing the night before the show. And Keith is like, how the fuck can we rehearse if you're not going to sing, Chuck? And it just went on like that for like 20 minutes until Chuck finally gives in and he starts whispering the songs. Sweet little 16, but he refuses to sing. And Keith knew it was the best he was going to get out of him. So, but yeah, you could see that there was tons of tension between Keith and Chuck.
Oh, there was a lot of tension in that studio, What a great time, Bill, man. I got to, a great guest you were, man. What a great story. You guys, hey, I gotta be good to you guys. You guys get sensitive. I mean, I got a legend. To me, this is one of my favorite guests right here is Bill.
Oh, thank you. I hope I didn't talk too much. Once you wind me up, I can.
That's the point of it.
That's the point. It's coffee talk. Drink some coffee, get high on caffeine, and let's just talk and ramble and talk over each other. I love. Look at Bill. Bill, show me what are you drinking? What is the coffee you're drinking? What do you like?
It's just like Whole Foods, whatever they have. I don't know.
You don't have a special. You don't have a Bill. You don't have a special coffee. You don't. Now that you.
I really don't.
No,
I love coffee, but I'm like good with 2 cups a day, and like that'll suffice.
I know we asked you if you keep in touch with the Stones and this, but there's like I know Slim Jim. He's kind of keeps a relationship here and there with Bill Wyman. You ever do an email to him, shoot him an email, see how you're doing, this and that, or
Bill Wyman?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in touch with him several times since he quit the Stones. He's a really nice guy, but probably not for a few years. He came on. I had a radio show in 2002. It was a syndicated show just about the Stones. Called the Stone Zone on a bunch of different stations. It was on in San Diego, by the way. I say as I look at Corey Leviton. It was on. I don't remember the call letters now, but anyway. And Bill Wyman came on, which was really nice of him, and he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's quite.
He has some other stuff to answer to in the Me Too era, which that's a whole other stuff.
Right, that's a whole nother story. I mean, think
to me, I can tell you, he was really nice and a really generous guy.
He's one of the best. I mean, the Stones wouldn't be the Stones with that rhythm section. I truly believe because Charlie Watts. They always say now you don't hear a lot of Charlie Watts. He's a very quiet guy. He's very to himself. How was Charlie Watts to you?
Well, that's the funny thing is, so most people would be intimidated of Mick and Keith and Ronnie. I was like intimidated of Charlie because he's such a quiet guy and he's like really eccentric. And he lets the horses walk through his house, which must be a hell of a cleanup job. He collects horses. Horses, yes. He goes to horse shows in Poland and buys a horse like once a year.
Wow.
And then supposedly he lets them walk through the house. So, right, that must be quite a cleanup job. But anyway, so
big house.
He's really eccentric, and so there were times when I was like in close proximity to him, like in the recording studio, and I'm literally sitting like 5 feet away from him, and all he will do is just nod, hello, and like if I've said 2 words to Charlie Watts in my whole life, that's a lot.
Even if you watch the videos, like for Start Me Up and She's So Cold, Charlie is like smirking and like not, he seems like he's not happy to be there. And I can't even imagine what kind of mind must be not happy to be with the Rolling Stones in any situation.
He'd rather be playing jazz, you know, and he has done a whole bunch of jazz albums. He had like a big band jazz band, and then he had like a quintet and all that. He would much rather be doing that. But at the same time, he does not want to be the guy that breaks up the Rolling Stones. So, you know, when he gets the call from Mick, you know, hey, we're going to tour this year, he'll just say, oh, all right. And he goes out on tour. You know, it's not difficult, you know, or not as difficult as it used to be now that, you know, they're at 5-star hotels and they're only doing 1 or 2 shows a week. And, you know, so it's not as demanding. And it's like, all right, you know, and he loves these guys. You know, he's known Mick and Keith, you know, for 60 years already.
I mean, Charlie Watts, he'd always looked like he was. I always thought he was high back when the "She's So Hot" video, she's so cold. I mean, Emotional Rescue. You look at those videos, even "Miss You" before videos were getting, you know, you could see It's Only Rock and Roll video with the bubbles going on him. You know,
they're called promo films.
What's that, Bill?
Oy vey?
Oy vey? Raise a pen, Oy vey.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was just saying I think before they were called videos, they were actually like promo films or promo clips or whatever they were called. Yeah.
Now, Fasano's a drummer. Do you know that, Bill?
I do know that.
You do know that. Fasano. Yeah. Do you have any Charlie Watts questions? Because, like, Charlie Watts is have you met Charlie Watts, Mike?
I've never met Charlie Watts. And I haven't had the pleasure. But, no, you know, it's just like being in a band, you know, especially like Charlie's in this band, wants to do other things like his jazz stuff and has done it, like you said. But it's weird, just not just the Rolling Stones, but just being in a band in general. We played in a band together called Dad's Porno Mag with Stefan, and we have this guy Ryan, and there's always somebody who is sort of a dictator or a dick in a way, and sort of has to be, doesn't want to be, but sort of portrays that way. So maybe Charlie's with drawing in this video, like the smirk or the this or that, is because of Brenda, and then the fighting between Brenda and Keith. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, he's like, I just don't want to deal with this. I'm a part of it.
Yeah,
he's smart enough to be a part of this, but yeah. So no, I think we're all we've all sort of dealt with that. And just to bring it to the show, like guys at Corey who's not in a band, sometimes, you know, the show is Stefan and we're sort of trying to find our way.
I'm Brenda, I guess. They call me Brenda.
But you know what's funny? We never call you, we don't call you Brenda. That's a great name though. Oh, and Brenda, that's a great story.
You know what? The problem is because me and Mike were in a band together, and the band could have done something really good, but the lead singer has some issues. And as you could see, we're gonna do, Bill. If I could get you like an exclusive interview, maybe if you're not working on a book now, we could do a story about the life and times of Ryan Roxy. It's pretty interesting if you ever want to. You know, Bill, it's like Ryan's dealing with some stuff right now, and nobody has heard from him. We haven't heard from him in weeks.
God.
So maybe you could do an interview with him, Bill. You know, we're worried. We're worried. An expo. You know, Roxy, if you're watching, I got Bill German, author of the Rolling Stones. You know, knows everything about them. Knew Keith and Ronnie. If we want to talk to you, we want to help you, Roxy. So.
Stefan.
Yeah.
I do have a Ron Wood story.
Go.
Sorry.
See what I mean?
Hey, Bill, do me a favor. Could you
Bill,
interview Fasano? Interview him.
Bill, first of all,
let's hear your Ron Wood story.
Do you have a hard out? Do you have to leave now?
Not really, but you know, I don't have all day. But yeah, go ahead.
Give me 2 minutes. Friday will be 17 hours with Eric Singer. I've worked with Green Day. I've worked on their records. I have a rental drum business, and I tune on records, and that's my day gig, or my business, or my thing I've done for 20 years. Anyways, I'm hanging with Trey Cool. He's staying at, what's the hotel, Stefan, right down the street from the Viper Room, right down that same street.
Le Parc?
Bar Marmont.
Is it Le Parc?
Oh, he's staying at Le Parc. That's where they stayed. We're hanging out. He's dating Winona Ryder. And we're at this thing, and she was around. He would call her Noni, and she has some weird hump on her back. He'd always
really
obsessed on. And there's some other things about her, but anyways, So we're in La Park, and there's a studio downstairs at La Park, and Ron Wood is there. Another guy, like a Lana Clarkston kind of chick, is there, and me and Trey. So it's just the five of us. We're down in the studio to see the studio, and Trey knows Ronnie, and I've been being a friend to these guys. I've been around this stuff, so I just I'm hanging out. We're having a drink, and this girl is trying to get Ronnie Wood, this other guy with Ronnie Wood, Trey, and me, to one of us to change clothes with her, and it was sort of kind of focusing toward me to change the clothes with her, and I guess this is just a thing, right? Ronnie was super cool. I mean, I didn't really talk to him. I was just there. I was like on the show. I'm sort of just here, but I speak when I'm spoken to. But all I remember this night is it's, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning. I don't remember anything, but there was Jack Daniels or whatever we were drinking. This girl and I bailed out of there and I left Trey, and I never knew exactly what happened. I had to drive back to Burbank at 3:30 in the morning, and that's dangerous if you've had a couple cocktails.
Yeah.
But I just remember being in this place, and I'm thinking to myself, this has got to be like 15 years ago now or more. I'm thinking, here's Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones. Here's this chick that came with this other guy. There's Trey Cool, and then there's me. How many times has Ron Wood been in this situation of, hey, let's make a party, and let's change our clothes. You dress up as me, a girl, and I just say, how many times has he been done? So that's what all I was thinking, and I think I got to go to work the next morning. And blah blah blah, whatever. But that's my Ron Wood story. That's all I got for you guys.
That's all.
That's what he does. Like, let's have a party all the time.
Yes. Yeah. It was weird. Right.
He's like Lou O'Neill Jr. Lou O'Neill Jr. It's the same thing.
Anyways, that's all I got for you.
No, I like Mike's hidden stories. Mike has these great
hidden stories.
Hidden stories with Fasano. I think it's great. I mean, I'm so
hidden
fascinated.
gems.
But hold on, I know, Bill, you got things to do, but real more important, the hump on her back. What's up with that? The hump.
Supposedly Winona, and this is before.
Look at Bill. He looks concerned. Look at Bill's face. He's concerned.
Yeah, she's got some kind of maybe respectfully, maybe a little scoliosis or something. Is that where you get the hump? And Trey used to call her Noni.
Noni, why? Noni.
Winona, and you just call her Noni.
My mother has a hump.
And I was around her, and she was cool, and I was just a guy that worked with the band. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there were some other things going on.
How were her how the feet, the toenails?
I didn't see any of that stuff.
You see the toenails?
But I want to say there might have been some shaving of things on her.
Really?
Yeah, that would happen. Yeah. I don't remember, but that's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
A lot of weed.
A little
bit of blow, which a little bit of blow with me goes a long way.
Hey Bill, you've seen the Rolling Stones, Rock and Roll Dangerous. They're like the fathers of that. And any girls with humps hanging around there, or hairy ones? No humps, no hairy ones back then.
Hairy hump girls.
Hairy hump girls. I got a few. You never know with a hairy hump girl. Hairy hump girl. It's great. Every band needs a hairy hump girl.
New band.
Backstage with hairy hump girl.
Yeah.
God, you know what?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
One more thing.
Go.
Really quick,
No drama today. Okay. Go.
No. Drama. You want to start the drama, Corey?
No.
Ready?
No. Hairy hump girl. Hairy hump girl.
No. Going back to your fanzine, and you was one of the first things. They were aware of it, and they were aware of you, and you sort of got into this thing. It's just like we've been in bands, whether it was Dad's Porno Mag, which was not a signed band or anything, or to a Warrant or a Tiger Army. Being in these bands, like back in the day, I don't want to say the name because I don't want to give this person credit, but you knew who the fan was that was doing stuff with a fanzine, because it was sort of pre-internet for us and stuff, and almost pre-cell phone. But to this day, it's like even the stars of our show, the Adika's Divas, the girls, we're aware of these people doing stuff for us. We have this guy Ashley Alexander who's doing all these great pictures. We're aware. It's like of stuff. And I want to say even the Green Day guys know who the psycho fan is that they have to watch out for, or the fan that did something really cool that has nothing to do with the label or the anything or whatever. Everybody's aware of what's going on. So at that golden time of the fanzine, which is basically what the internet is now in a certain way, you can have your own thing and your own communication. You were the guy for them. They knew you. And I mean, I guess I'm just summarizing this whole thing. And you're a cool guy and you seem like a cool hang, and you're not the guy who's going to steal the Triniton TV or the silverware. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but we're aware of all these people.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
at least with the show that's happening. So,
You know, Bill, we have a lot of look. First of all, we have our Melrose Larry Green here. We want him to play some music on the outro. Where are you, Melrose? You know, and going here. He's there. He's alive. Wait, hold on, really a second. Melrose, you okay? You're okay, Melrose? Bill's worried. Okay, great. Bill, do you want
His mic's off again.
Bill,
Dad was from Brownsville too, by the way. Melrose.
you know what? Talk to
He's
Melrose,
not,
Bill.
he's not allowed to talk.
Hey, Bill, are you a big Melrose? Were you a big Howard Stern fan, like Melrose Larry?
Oh yeah. I mean, like before Howard, even like in DC and all these other cities, I was turning friends on to him. Like even before he was in LA, I had friends living in LA, and I said, "Hey, this guy's coming out to LA. His morning broadcast. You got to listen to him." So I turned a lot of people onto Howard way back.
Way back when. So now that you finally get to meet Melrose Larry Green, what would you like to ask Melrose?
Well, people ask me all the time, "Are you still in touch with the Stones?" How much is Melrose still in touch with, the Whack Pack and Howard and all those people?
Melrose? Bill German,
Well,
famous Bill German's interviewing you.
Yeah, well, Bill, first of all, I enjoyed your interview very much today. I got a call from Gary Delabate 5 days ago, and we're all sort of inside now with the pandemic, but I'm going to be going back on the show soon. I wanted to ask you one quick question, Bill. Do you think that Patty Hansen was the influence that turned Keith Richards' life around? I read that in a book in which you're mentioned many times, called Keith Richards by Victor Bockris.
I do believe that. Am I on? Yeah. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. That she really helped straighten him out and realized that he could lead a much more stable life, which he has. And he realized that whole crazy rock and roll lifestyle and all the drugs, he did it. And of course he still did quite a bit while he was with Patty, but I mean, it was less and less and less and less of the hangouts and all that. It's sort of like what I was saying much earlier, that Keith would not have the drug dealers to the house once he was, hooked up with Patty, and especially once they got married and he had one kid and then another kid with her. Really kind of straightened him out. He still loved to play, still loved hanging out with the Stones. But if he wanted to be a bad boy, he would, kind of take it out of the house and do that stuff at Ron Wood's house and never bring it back to his own house. So, yeah she did straighten him out.
No, excellent. You know what? We're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna give Bill German a round of applause. That's a good way to end the
Thanks,
show.
Bill.
Right now. Hey, Bill, hang out one second here for a second, because I know you're a busy guy. You got deals to make and all this stuff. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Melrose, thank you for coming. Bill got you here for Bill German's a big fan of you. We want to thank the wonderful Corey Leviton turning me on to Bill German, and then we found out we lived in the same neighborhood and knew the same people. Bill, love to have you again as a guest, because there's so much to talk about. This wasn't enough. Hopefully you'll come back. We did not get you away. I want to thank you, Oive. You guys, he's for saying nothing. Mike Fasano, my big man of Coffee Talk. I love you. We didn't fight today. You're still sticking with Adika.
We didn't fight yesterday.
Keep the fight. It's good for drama. Look
Wait,
at this.
But we got to address the situation.
What's
Tomorrow.
We will.
Right
We got so much to go on tomorrow, because you know what's going on tomorrow, Bill German? I'm glad you asked. Lydia Cornell from Too Close for Comfort. Look at that. Ooh, yeah.
No, don't do it on her show. Address it now, Corey.
Yeah. No, I don't. Just shut up before.
Let's do an after show.
This is what happens, Bill. Watch this. See that? When somebody pisses me off, I just do that. You know what?
Cornfield.
This is the cornfield. That's it. Look at the horse. Look at him. Look what he does. Look at that face. Only a mother's gonna love that face. But tomorrow, everybody, we're gonna be here 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Eastern 11. Lydia Cornell from Too Close for Comfort is gonna hang with the guys from Coffee Talk Live. With Adika and all that good stuff. Coffee Talk with Adika Live, or whichever way you want to say it. We want to thank the popular Bill German, friend to the Rolling Stones, hanging with us today. Bill, it was an honor.
Thank you, guys.
Also, Yenta Alley,
Very
watch
cool.
out for them. The girls are going crazy on the streets. There's been insane. They're burning Adika Coffee Talks. They're worried about Roxy. Roxy loves you. Does Adika? I want to, hey, again, I'll say it, Bill. I don't know if you've watched my show, but there's a great show because if you want to relax a little, maybe doze off, a great show on Tuesdays at 10 in the trenches with Ryan Roxy. And for a great Sunday of boredom, something with Roxy. It's 9 o'clock. It's really good. It's like watching paint dry, but I want to wish him health and wealth. Ryan, we're worried about you. We hope you're okay. Bill,
God.
we're going to send you to interview Roxy for the Roxy fan clubs out there. We support Roxy. We're worried about Roxy. Oh, Roxy.
God.
What happened, Roxy? Eric Singer knows a good hair guy for you, Roxy. We'll fix that. What's that?
Really quick. Watch out for the wrath of Cass.
Oh, the wrath of
After
cat.
that.
Look at this. And watch out for Kitty Oates, Bill German. Be careful. Sleep with one eye open. Don't piss nobody off. German, I love you. You're my friend.
Thank you, man.
I want you guys
Thanks
to.
for having me on.
Oh, thank you. Go to BillGerman.com. I want you to check out the Fanzy site. I want you to subscribe on your way out to Adika's Coffee Talk. Go in the descriptions. All the links will be there. We will be here tomorrow, everybody, with Lydia, the beautiful Lydia Cornell from Too Close for Comfort. All righty. On that note is, we're going to be out of here. We're going to take this bad boy home. And here's Ashley. Thank you for the art. Mark Denzize, and thank you for the music. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
It's Coffee Talk with Adika. Nothing rhymes with that but chicken tikka.